Welcome to Replica Printing's bleed tutorial. In this video, we'll explain how to add bleed in different programs. On the far left gives a perfect example of what bleed is. Color to the edge of the page. Here are some bleed guidelines, showing the safe area, the actual cut size, and the bleed size. What programs can add bleed? Well, there's Acrobat, Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop. Let's start with Acrobat. Here's the Acrobat bleed tutorial. Step 1. Check your document size. Make sure it's the right size that you want. Step 2. Use a plugin called Quite Imposing to make the document 0.25 inches bigger on each edge. That will give you space to add the bleed. Step 3. Click Edit Page, drag all the color to the edge of the page. You may need to cut and paste to get rid of clipping masks. Also send objects to the back after pasting. All the space that's added to the 0.25 will be your bleed. So you're dragging the color off so you have room to cut. Step 4. Click Bleeds on Quite Imposing and set the bleed to 0.125 for each side and apply. Step 5. Save the document and your bleed for Acrobat is complete. And let's move on to Illustrator. Here's the Illustrator bleed tutorial. Step 1. Open the file. Looks like we have a normal business card layout with no bleed added to it. So step 2, we go to File, Document Setup, and we're going to add the bleed margin to our document setup by adding 0.125 to each side. And now it pulls up a red outline to where you want to drag all of your bleed color to that line. That line is the bleed line. You want to make sure and zoom and make sure you drag it to the edge completely. After you've dragged all the color that you want to bleed off to the edge, you move on to the next step. Step 5. Save the document and make sure bleed settings is checked to use document bleed settings. It's the most important part and most important step. So it will save your document with the bleed that you need. Let's move on to InDesign. Here's the InDesign bleed tutorial. Step 1. Open the file just like Illustrator. Step 2. File, Document Setup. Step 3. Add 0.125 of bleed to each side. Step 4. Drag all the color you want to bleed off the edge to the red bleed line. InDesign is a great tool to use for multi-page documents to add bleed. Now we zoom in just like on Illustrator, make sure everything is dragged out to the bleed line. And once that task is completed, we move on to the next step, which would be saving your file and making sure document bleed settings are checked again. For this section, we had to draw with our pen tool to add the bleed to the red bleed line. So it'd be the correct shape for this type of bleed. Now we're going to draw a black rectangle and send it to the back to add that bleed. Now finally we have all of our bleed dragged out to all edges. The next step would be export the document as a PDF. Since we'll be printing this, we export it as high quality PDF print. Click Save, and another window will pop up where you have to go to bleed settings, and it's very important to check Use Document Bleed Settings. Last but not least, we'll give you the Photoshop bleed tutorial. Step 1, open your file. Step 2, check the document size. Since it's 17 by 26, we have to add 0.25 to both those dimensions. That gives you the space you need to add the bleed to the edge of the document. Step 4. Duplicate the background layer by holding down Alt and dragging it below. The next step is to free transform and drag all color off to the edge. Step 6 is to save the document as a PDF. Once that document is saved as a PDF and exported, you need to use Acrobat once again to open your document as a PDF. Step 7. Open your file in Acrobat. Then we do the last step from the Acrobat bleed tutorial. We use Quiet Imposing to add 0.125 of bleed and apply that around each edge. After you click Apply, now it is safe to save your document, and all the bleed should be added. Now you can add bleed to all your programs and files in these Adobe Suite programs. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for other tutorials and videos. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for other tutorials and videos on our website.